7 years ago, Megan looked into my eyes on our wedding night and whispered the words, "I will love you, and only you forever." I believed every syllable. That promise wrapped around my heart like armor. I thought nothing could break us. But 7 years later, those same lips that vowed eternal devotion asked me something I never imagined hearing. She wanted permission to be with other men. And that request was only the beginning of a nightmare that would shatter everything I thought I knew about love. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. If stories about betrayal, heartbreak, and finding strength resonate with you, hit that like button and subscribe to join this community. Stay with me through this entire story because what happened next changed everything I believed about love and loyalty. My name is Darin, and I met Megan 10 years ago at an outdoor concert in Austin, Texas. It was one of those perfect summer evenings where the music floated through warm air and strangers became friends under string lights. She was standing near the beverage tent when her cup slipped from her hand, splashing across the grass. I happened to be walking by and offered her my napkins. She laughed, embarrassed, and that laugh hooked me instantly. We talked for the rest of the night. When the concert ended, neither of us wanted to leave. We found a bench and kept talking until the venue staff asked us to go home. I got her number, and we had our first official date 3 days later. That was the start of everything. We dated for 3 years before I proposed. She said yes before I even finished the question. Our wedding was small but beautiful, held at a vineyard outside Austin with close friends and family. Her brother Jason gave a toast about how he had never seen his sister so happy. My mother Linda cried through the entire ceremony. Everything felt right. After 2 years of marriage, we bought our first house together. It was a modest 3-bedroom place in the suburbs, nothing fancy, but it was ours. I remember the day we got the keys. Megan ran through every room like a kid on Christmas morning. We painted the walls together, argued about furniture, and fell asleep on an air mattress that first night because our bed had not arrived yet. I worked as a software engineer at a tech company downtown. The pay was good, the hours reasonable, and I genuinely enjoyed solving problems. Megan worked as a marketing manager at an advertising agency. She was talented at her job, creative and driven. I admired her ambition. Our evenings became sacred rituals. I would cook pasta while she mixed cocktails. We would eat at our small dining table talking about nothing and everything. Weekends meant farmers markets, hiking trails, and lazy Sunday mornings in bed. We discussed having children and even picked out names. We talked about turning the spare bedroom into a nursery. Our friends often said they envied what we had. Marcus, my best friend from college, once told me he hoped to find what Megan and I shared. My mother called Megan the daughter she never had. Everything pointed toward a future filled with happiness. I trusted Megan completely. The thought of her deceiving me never crossed my mind. She was my partner, my best friend, my home. I believed we were building something unbreakable, but looking back, I should have noticed the cracks forming beneath the surface. About 6 months before everything fell apart, Megan received a promotion at work. She joined a new team handling bigger clients with higher stakes. I was proud of her. She deserved the recognition. But the promotion came with changes I did not immediately understand. She started coming home later. Meetings ran long, she explained. Client dinners happened more frequently. I accepted these reasons without question because I had no reason to doubt her. But small things began to nag at me. When her phone buzzed with messages, she would take it to another room to respond. If I walked in while she was texting, she would quickly put the screen face down. When I asked about her day, her answers became vague and short. One evening, I noticed her smiling at her phone in a way that seemed different. That smile held something private, something that excluded me. I asked what was so funny. She said just work stuff and changed the subject. I told myself I was being paranoid. Megan started going to the gym more often and changed her wardrobe. She bought new dresses, new shoes, new perfume. I complimented her, told her she looked beautiful. She would thank me with a distant smile that did not reach her eyes. An invisible wall grew between us. I could feel it, but could not name it. I convinced myself that work stress explained everything. I told myself successful people sometimes drift temporarily before finding their way back. I believed the woman I married would never hurt me. Then came the Friday night that changed everything. I left work early to surprise her. I stopped by a florist and picked up a bouquet of her favorite flowers, white lilies with touches of purple. I grabbed a bottle of the wine we drank on our first anniversary. I imagined her face lighting up when I walked through the door. But when I arrived home, Megan was sitting on the couch with an expression I had never seen before. Her posture was rigid, her jaw tight. She looked at me without smiling. "I need to talk to you about something serious," she said. I set down the flowers and wine. My stomach tightened. My mind raced through possibilities. Was someone sick? Had something happened at work? She took a breath and told me she had been thinking about this for months. She said our relationship had grown stale, that she felt trapped in routine. She used words like personal growth and self-exploration. Then she said the words that stopped my heart. She wanted an open marriage. I asked her to repeat herself, because I was certain I had misheard. She said it again, slower this time, as if explaining something to a child. She wanted the freedom to see other people while staying married to me. She claimed this would help both of us grow as individuals. She promised she still loved me. The bouquet slipped from my hands and hit the floor. Petals scattered across the hardwood. I stood there, unable to move, unable to breathe. It felt like someone had punched me in the stomach and knocked all the air from my lungs. I asked her why. I asked if I had done something wrong. She shook her head and said this was not about me. This was about her needing to expand her horizons. That night I lay beside her in our bed, staring at the ceiling for hours. The woman next to me felt like a stranger wearing my wife's face. Sleep never came. By morning, exhaustion and confusion had hollowed me out. The days following Megan's request blurred together in a haze of disbelief. I kept replaying her words, searching for some hidden meaning I might have missed. Every time I looked at her, I saw a person I no longer recognized. My first response was clear and firm. I told her that marriage means two people, not 3 or 4. I told her the vows we exchanged did not include asterisks or exceptions. She cried and accused me of not understanding her. She said if I truly loved her, I would want her to be happy. She said my refusal proved I cared more about possession than partnership. I suggested marriage counseling. I thought a professional could help us navigate whatever had gone wrong. She dismissed the idea immediately. She said therapy was for broken relationships and ours was not broken. She said she simply needed freedom. Her mood shifted after I refused. The warmth disappeared from our home. She stopped initiating conversations. Physical affection vanished entirely. When I reached for her hand, she would find a reason to pull away. When I tried to kiss her, she turned her cheek. Then came the ultimatum. One night she told me that if I would not agree to an open marriage, she would need to reconsider our entire relationship. The word divorce hung unspoken in the air between us. Fear gripped me. The thought of losing her terrified me more than the thought of sharing her. I know how pathetic that sounds now, but in that moment I could not see past my desperation. I called Marcus and told him everything. He listened without interrupting, then said something that haunts me to this day. He said if she is asking for this, there is already someone else. He said the open marriage talk was not about exploration. It was about permission. It was about making her affair legitimate. I did not want to believe him. Marcus had gone through a brutal divorce 2 years earlier. His ex-wife had cheated on him with his own cousin. I thought his judgment was clouded by personal pain. I thought my situation was different. After 3 weeks of pressure, I broke. I told Megan I would agree to try an open marriage for 6 months. I laid out rules. We had to tell each other before meeting anyone. We could not bring anyone to our home. Protection was mandatory. Our shared finances remained untouched. She agreed to everything with an enthusiasm that should have been another warning sign. That night she hugged me and thanked me for understanding her. Her gratitude felt hollow. As I signed the informal agreement we had written together, my hand trembled. I knew in my bones that I was making a catastrophic mistake, but I was too afraid to walk away. I told myself this was temporary. I convinced myself she would realize after a few weeks that she did not need anyone else. I believed love would win. I was wrong. Exactly 1 week after our agreement, Megan told me there was someone she wanted to see. His name was Tyler. He was 35 years old, a creative director at her agency. They had been working closely on a major campaign. The timeline hit me like ice water. She had suggested the open marriage just 1 week ago, and already she had someone lined up. This was not coincidence. Tyler existed before our conversation ever happened. Marcus had been right. The months that followed were the worst of my life. Megan would leave to see Tyler 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes she came home late at night smelling like cologne I did not recognize. Sometimes she would be humming songs I had never heard her sing before. I tried to participate in the arrangement. I went on 2 dates with women I met through an app. Both times I felt physically ill. I could not focus on conversation. I could not pretend I was interested. I ended both evenings early with apologies. The idea of touching someone else felt like betrayal even though I technically had permission. Meanwhile, Megan showed no such conflict. She bloomed under the arrangement. She laughed more, dressed better, carried herself with new confidence. But that joy never directed itself at me. I had become furniture in my own home, something to be walked past on the way to somewhere better. One night I pretended to be asleep when she came home after midnight. Through barely open eyes, I watched her sit on the edge of the bed, smiling at her phone. The screen glowed against her face as she typed. I caught a glimpse of the name at the top of the conversation. Tyler, surrounded by heart emojis. She started quoting him during our conversations. Tyler thinks we should try that restaurant. Tyler said the funniest thing today. Tyler has such interesting perspectives. Each mention drove another nail into my chest. My body began to fail under the stress. I lost 10 pounds in 2 months. Sleep became a stranger. Dark circles carved themselves beneath my eyes. My manager at work pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay. I lied and said I was fine. Marcus visited one weekend and could not hide his shock at my appearance. He grabbed my shoulders and looked me in the eye. He told me I was killing myself for someone who did not care whether I lived or died. He begged me to end it, but I was not ready to hear him. Not yet. 5 months into our open marriage, I came home early from work. A meeting had been canceled at the last minute. I expected to find an empty house since Megan usually worked late on Thursdays. Instead, I found her sitting on our bedroom floor crying. In her hand was a pregnancy test. The result showed positive. My heart stopped. Then it started again, pounding with desperate hope. Maybe this would change everything. Maybe motherhood would bring her back to me. Maybe we could start over. Then she looked up at me with terror in her eyes and said 3 words that destroyed that hope instantly. I do not know. I asked her what she meant. She sobbed and explained. She did not know who the father was. She had stopped using protection with Tyler. He did not like it, and she did not want to make him uncomfortable. The world tilted beneath my feet. I grabbed the doorframe to keep from falling. She had broken our rules. Not once, not accidentally, but repeatedly and deliberately. She had risked everything for Tyler's comfort while my feelings meant nothing. I did not yell. I did not cry. Something inside me simply switched off. I stood there in silence while she apologized, while she offered to terminate the pregnancy if I wanted, while she begged for another chance. I walked out of the room without saying a word. The next day, I hired a private investigator. I needed to know exactly how deep the deception went. 1 week later, he delivered his report. Megan and Tyler had been involved for 8 months. Their relationship started 2 months before she ever mentioned open marriage to me. They had taken weekend trips together while she told me she was traveling for work. The hotel receipts, the photographs, the timeline, all of it was documented. There was more. Tyler was married with 2 children. His divorce was pending, initiated by his wife after she discovered his affair with Megan. I confronted Megan with the evidence spread across our kitchen table. She collapsed into a chair and finally told the truth. She admitted everything. The lies, the manipulation, the betrayal that predated our arrangement by months. Then she said something that crystallized my resolve. She said she had wanted both of us. She knew it sounded selfish, but she loved us in different ways. She thought she could have her marriage and her affair if she just found the right framework. I realized then that the open marriage was never about growth or exploration. It was about legitimizing an affair that had already begun. She never respected me. She simply found a way to cheat with my written consent. That night I did not sleep, but not because of anguish. For the first time in months, my mind was clear. The fog of denial lifted. I saw my situation with brutal clarity and knew exactly what I needed to do. At 8 the next morning, I called a divorce attorney. When I told Megan my decision, she fell apart. She promised to end things with Tyler immediately. She swore she would do anything to save our marriage. She said she could not live without me. I looked at her and felt nothing. I told her she had 5 months to choose between us. She chose him every single time. Now, I was choosing myself. I packed my belongings that afternoon and moved into Marcus's spare bedroom. I blocked Megan's number on my phone and all social media. I filed for divorce the following week. The aftermath unfolded with a certain poetic justice. When Tyler learned about the pregnancy, he vanished from Megan's life completely. He returned to his wife, and refused all contact with Megan. He would not acknowledge the child or provide any support. The man she had sacrificed our marriage for abandoned her the moment things became complicated. Megan tried desperately to reach me. She sent emails that went unanswered. She showed up at Marcus's apartment, and I refused to see her. She called my mother, who politely but firmly told her to leave me alone. Her brother Jason called me to apologize on behalf of his family. He said they were shocked and ashamed of Megan's behavior. I told him I held no grudge against him or their parents. They were not responsible for her choices, but I could never go back. The divorce proceedings dragged on for 4 months. Megan initially demanded more than her fair share of our assets. My attorney presented the evidence of her infidelity. The judge was not sympathetic to her position. In the end, I retained the majority of what I had earned, and she signed the papers. It was over. 7 years of marriage dissolved into signatures on legal documents. The first months after the divorce were harder than I expected. Even though I knew I had made the right decision, the emptiness remained. 7 years of shared life do not disappear overnight. I would wake up reaching for someone who was no longer there. I would start to tell Megan something funny before remembering she was gone. Marcus refused to let me wallow. He dragged me out of the apartment for dinners, movies, basketball games. He listened when I needed to talk, and distracted me when I needed to stop thinking. My mother flew in from Ohio and stayed for 2 weeks. She cooked my favorite meals, cleaned the apartment, and sat with me through long evenings. One night she held my hand and told me something I will never forget. She said I did not lose Megan. She said Megan lost me. And that loss was Megan's greatest tragedy. I started seeing a therapist once a week. In that quiet office, I learned to stop blaming myself for what happened. My therapist helped me understand that I could not control another person's choices. I could only control my response. And my response had been to choose dignity over desperation. Slowly, I rebuilt my life from the ground up. I moved into a new apartment downtown, a fresh space with no memories attached. I returned to the gym and regained the weight I had lost. I started cooking again, trying new recipes that Megan had never wanted to eat. I read books I had been putting off for years. At work, my performance rebounded. 6 months after the divorce, I received a promotion I had been chasing for years. My manager said my focus and energy had returned stronger than before. I joined a hiking group that met every Saturday morning. On those trails surrounded by strangers who became friends, I found peace I had forgotten existed. We would climb hills and share stories. Some were divorced like me. Some had faced different heartbreaks. All of us were healing in our own ways. 1 year after signing those divorce papers, I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. Not because I looked different, but because I felt different. Stronger, calmer, more certain of my own worth than I had ever been. Jason still contacts me occasionally. Through him, I learned what happened to Megan. She gave birth to a daughter and is raising her alone. Tyler never resurfaced. She had to sell her apartment and move back in with her parents. Her career suffered after the drama spread through her workplace. When I heard this, I waited for satisfaction or vindication. Instead, I felt only stillness. I do not wish her suffering. I do not wish her happiness either. She has simply become irrelevant to my life. The child is innocent, and I hope Megan finds the strength to be a good mother. But none of it concerns me anymore. The greatest lesson I learned through all of this is simple but profound. Real love never asks you to share the person you love with someone else. When someone claims they need freedom within a marriage, they have already left that marriage in their heart. The open relationship talk is just paperwork for a departure that has already happened. I also learned that walking away is not weakness. Sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. It means choosing yourself when everyone expects you to keep sacrificing. It means refusing to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's half-hearted love. I do not know what the future holds for me. Maybe I will love again. Maybe I will find someone who values loyalty the way I do. Maybe I will remain alone for a while longer. Whatever comes, I know one thing with absolute certainty. I will never again accept less than I deserve. I will never again beg someone to choose me. I will never again lose myself trying to keep someone who has already decided to leave. The man I was before Megan's betrayal would barely recognize who I have become. And the man I am today would tell that younger version to stand up sooner, to trust his instincts, to know that being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who makes you feel lonely. If you are watching this and you see yourself in my story, I want you to know something. You deserve someone who chooses you completely. You deserve loyalty without conditions. And if someone asks you to share your heart while they give theirs to someone else, you have every right to walk away. That is not giving up. That is waking up. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had to choose between your self-respect and holding on to someone you loved? What did you decide and what did it teach you? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is struggling with the same decision right now. If this story touched you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss more stories about real life, real heartbreak, and real healing. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you carry this truth with you wherever you go. You are worthy of complete love. Never settle for anything less.